Hey guys, welcome to my new video. As you could see from a title, we will together create today a Bootstrap 4 sign-in page. I am currently on a Bootstrap 4 official website, and the sign-in page that we will create today is on this website. So if you navigate yourself to examples at the top in navigation, you will have some of the examples down below, and one of those examples will be a sign-in page of Bootstrap. So as you could see, this is the sign-in page and we will create exactly this one today. Also, while we code it, I will tell you more about Bootstrap 4 classes as we encounter those. So here I have my sign-in page, index file, obviously blank, and we will create the code inside of that file. So if I go to my Visual Studio Code, here you can see just the HTML, CSS, and also the logo PNG file that we will use, as we won't use this Bootstrap logo for this video. So first part, what you see as you come to this page, basically you see this content here, and you see that the content is in center of a page, right? So this will be the first thing that we will do. But before that, we also must import Bootstrap 4 CSS file from CDN, and also import our styles file that we have. So I will go back into a Bootstrap homepage, and down here we have a CSS file from CDN, and also we have some JS files with jQuery and Popper.js. We won't need those today. So I will just copy my CSS file. I will go back into my Visual Studio Code and I will paste that file here. So Bootstrap, and I will paste it down below. So now that we have a Bootstrap imported, we could also import our main CSS that we will use. So it is styles.css. So as we go back to a sign-in page that we will create, you can see that this content is in the middle of a page. So we will first add those. So I will go to my styles, and there I will style a base of our web page, and that will be a body. So I will display a body as flex. Then I will align items in center, and I will also put a padding to it of 40 pixel, 0 pixel, and height should be 100 VH. For those who don't know, VH is basically, as you could see here, viewport length, so the entire length of a page. And the last thing, we will add a background color, F5, F5, F5. So as I go back and I refresh my page, nothing will happen obviously because we don't have any content inside. But every content that we add should be in the middle of a screen. So also, as you could see here, this text is in center. So on a body tag, we should also put a text center class. So I will go here, add a class of text center. This will make sure that every content on a page should be in a center from left to right. So let's just add some content here. So I will add a form. Well, why form? Well, this obviously entirely is a form, so we will put every content inside. Action for a form, we don't need that because we want to use some post requests here. So for the form, I will just add a class of for sign in, and inside, first thing that you saw was this image, basically the logo. So I will first add the logo. So I will add the image, and the image will lead us to a logo PNG file. And as I'm using just my logo, I will just put as an alt tag like a Omerko logo, and width to it should be 100 pixel. Obviously you could work with a different width, but yeah. Okay, so now that we have this, you can see that our content is in center from top to bottom, but not from left to right. So also we should style a form itself, right? So I will go back to our code, style CSS, and I will put a comment that we are styling form here. So I will grab my form by a class form sign in, and let's style it. So first I will put the width to it to be 100% to take the whole screen, but also I will put the max width to not go above the 330 pixel. And then I will put the padding of 15 pixel and also margin auto. This margin auto will put the sign up form to be in the center. As you could see, our image here from a form is in center. So next part, we have some h1 tag and we will add that. So back to code, and after image h1 should say please sign in. And now when we take a look at that, you can see that this h1 is obviously different from this one. This is a lot smaller and not bold at all, so we will work that up. So I will put the class here. h1 will be h3 element, for example. It will be a much more smaller, and also there is a class in Bootstrap called font weight normal. So this class will change the font weight of this element to be normal, not the bold. Okay, so now it's much better. So next part should be the input fields that we have, but also we will add the labels for those input fields, but those are not presented. Those will be SR only, so for screen readers only. So to code, below I will add a label. Label will be we'll have for input email, then class SR only for screen readers. It will say email address. User should put email address into the input field below. So I will create the input field with type of email. Then ID should be input email, as this is for has this property of for input email. Then the class should be form control. This form control class comes from Bootstrap, and it will style it a bit differently. Then we will put the placeholder email address, basically the same as the text in a label. We could also put to be required and autofocus if you wish that, right? So now when I refresh the page, you see that this is autofocused immediately, right? There is the email address. It's a bit different than from this page, but we will work on it soon. So the next input field, I will copy this entirely with the label, and the next one should say input password. Also ID here should be input password. Then text for the label should say just password. So type here should be password. Form control as a class is okay, obviously, and placeholder should be password as a label text above. We will remove autofocus from this, but we will left required on this. So now when I refresh the page, we have both of those stacked together, right? They are a bit wider than this one and a bit smaller. So let's style those to be identical. So back to CSS, I will grab my form control here, form control, set position to be relative, height to be auto, then padding to be 10 pixels, and font size to be 16 pixels. So when I refresh the page, yeah, this looks much better. So next part on this page is this remember me part with the checkbox. So we will create that also. Back to code, and here this checkbox will be a bit differently. It won't be just the input field, as the input field with the checkbox will have just default styling from a browser. So I will add a div, and a div will have a class of checkbox, and inside I will add a label. Left this empty and just input inside. Input should not be text but checkbox. Then value for the checkbox, let's just say remember me, and after input field here I will just add a text also remember me, so that could be visible on a page. So when we refresh the page, there it is, right? It is a bit stacked up with those input fields, but we will work on spacing a bit later. Next part is this button and also this copyright text. So let's first create the button. After this div, I will create a button with class of btn LG for large. This will create a larger button, not the usual Bootstrap button. Then btn primary will make this button blue. It is a color class. And btn block. This will make a button to take the whole width of this form, and that's 330 pixel as we set it, right? So after classes, I will put the type of a button to be submit, as we should submit sign-in form, and I will just add the text inside of sign-in. So if I refresh the page, there it is. So now when I click sign-in, we will have this please fill out this field pop up, as that will come from this required. So we cannot sign in until we fill up our data inside, right? So the one more thing that is left is just a paragraph, and the paragraph will have a class of text muted to have a bit grayish color, and then we will set the copy for copyright. They said like a 2017 to 2019, we will just put 2020, and there it is. So now that we have all of this set up, we could just work a bit on spacing. So first of all, when we see this page, you can see the difference, right? So obviously this text is moved totally from the top, so from a button. So let's put some spacing on that. We don't need to go to CSS and target those elements and put margin top, margin bottom. We could work with the Bootstrap classes. We have a MT5 to put the margin top. MT stands for margin top, and 5 stands for 5 rems. So when I refresh the page, you can see that this will be moved to 5 rems. So what does those rems stands for? So 1 rem will be equal to your default font size of your web page. So if you set the default size to be 30 rems, 30 pixels, then 1 rem would be 30 pixel. If you set spacing to be like 3 rems, that will be 90 pixel in that example. So let's go back to spacings. If we see more, then there is remember me is stacked with our input fields and the sign-in button. Let's move that button and also remember me. So back to HTML. So here I will add a margin top and margin bottom on a checkbox. So MT2 to, for example, 2 spaces to be moved from the top, and MB for a bottom to be moved 3 spaces. So if I refresh the page, you can see that this is obviously moved and this is not stacked up to a top. So this looks much better. I will also put some spacing here. So if I go to my H1, I will put margin bottom of 3. I can even put more, but that's okay. Now when we refresh the page, you can obviously see that the only difference is in the logo. Their logo is a bit bigger, and copyright text, and that's all. So now that you created the copycat of a sign-in page from Bootstrap, you could go back to Bootstrap and back to examples page here, and you could try to copy yourself different pages from here. This is great for new developers who are just learning Bootstrap 4 or Bootstrap 3, whichever version. You could go into examples on their website and just code the simple examples of that. You could even see here the whole blog page, how it is coded, and you could do it by your own, right? or we could go back and take, for example, this album page and see it, right? Try to code it yourself, and if you are stuck somewhere, you could look at their code. This is a great way of learning. But yeah, this will be all for this video. So if you liked it, please click like and subscribe, as there will be much more content in the future. See you in the next video.